Welcome to the Higher Energy Superpower. This is episode 9 of the Turbo Duo Cast. I am your host, Salvatore Mata, and to my left is always my hetero life mate, Trenton E. Wright the Third.
Yow, wow, wow.
Trenton Wright. Another one for Trenton Wright.
Coming in hard.
Always. Sometimes I gotta tell you to put 2 pairs of pants on.
Yeah, metaphorically hard.
Yeah. Oh boy, it feels like it's been a while since we recorded.
It's been a tight minute.
You know, I'm excited to be back in the studio with you. Thank you guys for joining us today. How can I ever sit here and say we don't have a good topic for you guys?
It's always
an
arousing rendition.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like something that's exciting. So I'm ready to go. I'm excited for today's topic. We're going to be talking about 2 retro games, one from the 8-bit era and another one from the 64-bit era. If you've seen the title of this, we're talking about Excitebike, the original Excitebike game, motorcycle game from back in the 1980s, and Excitebike 64, which came out on the aforementioned sort of Nintendo 64.
8x8 is 64.
Yep, and
Boom.
6x6 is 36, and that's the 36 chambers like the Wu-Tang Clan.
The RZA, the Jizza.
Yes. So, Excitebike. Just an exciting topic. I don't play a lot of racing games. That's not my favorite genre in the world.
It's Mario Kart or nothing, man.
But, you know, sort of like when we talked last week about good sports games, racing games are the kind of thing where when you find a really good racing or sports game or a racing game, you just, you can fall in love with a really, really good, fun playing racing game. None of that simulation stuff. I'm talking about arcadey stuff.
No Gran Turismo here.
No, we're not doing that.
Get out.
That's right.
They still make you?
No, they're only going more full force. You got
it's Gran Turismo and like Forza.
But I think isn't Forza Horizon like more popular than all of them combined at this point?
I honestly don't know.
Not that I would know, but I just feel like Horizon is the one that everybody talks about whenever you're talking about modern racing games. It seems like Horizon is the big one. They had like that Hot Wheels track one where the Hot Wheels tracks came out and they were doing that. They had the Fast and the Furious a few years ago. They did that.
That
expansion.
was Forza?
I think it was Forza Horizon.
Oh.
Yeah.
I only remember I never played them, but all like the Need for Speed Carbon and whatever all those other ones were.
Or Burnout. That was another one too.
Burnout was the jam.
Yeah.
That was like an arcade racing game though.
Yeah, I hate to say we're not talking about that because that's a PS2 game, but alas, some show notes from not last time. I got a show note from a couple of times ago, and just so that you guys know, we try to get these things edited and put out, but a lot of times, just because of our schedules, we have to kind of edit things that are in the works, but then when we record, we're still talking about things that were maybe 2 episodes ago. So just bear with us. If you're listening to the podcast, you'll
understand.
You'll get the callbacks. So 2 episodes ago, we were talking about Toy Story, the amazing, wonderful Toy Story game, pulled off lots of tricks on the Genesis.
Indeed.
And still great on the Super Nintendo. So we were talking about our good friend Patrick Musin, who had gotten the Genesis 2, and that was the first time I had seen a Genesis 2. Well, I made a mistake, and I recognized this right after we recorded. But
you better recognize.
Exactly. Pat actually, I said, Brutal Paws of Fury, that game was horrible.
Geez.
Why not just buy Street Fighter 2 Turbo? Well, he owned Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
You had to call him and ask him?
No, I remember he did and he reminded me of this. He would play as Cammy, and whenever he would win, this sounded really foreign to me, but he would go up to the TV screen, and when she would show off and show her ass,
oh God,
he would rub the screen with his fingers, which doesn't make any sense to me, but he apparently, had fun with it. Let's just put it that way.
Oh man, sometimes you get like that static.
Yeah, you get the static on the CRT.
It's like, ooh, that's hot.
Yeah. Ooh, she got me through the screen.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so and then The reason why they got the Genesis was because they wanted to get it on his dad's PC that we were talking about, the PC games.
And PC? Street Fighter on a PC?
Street Fighter 2.
It should be illegal.
I can't even imagine. What would you use, a Gravis pad?
It's got 2 buttons on it.
But here's the deal. So Street Fighter 2 on IBM PC compatibles was 32 megabits of like memory.
Right.
And the hard disk that they had was only 30.
Hard.
So there was no way for them to even put the game on the computer. So his dad was like, "Well, you guys want to play this game? Is there another way?" And really, there was a better way, and that was a console.
Of course, there's another way.
And so, would you believe it? That's the reason why they got a Sega Genesis. I couldn't, that was kind of like a fun fact,
That's one way to do it.
They kind of backdoor their way into a Sega Genesis. So, but anyways, that's kind of a fun fact. And then last episode we were talking about the baseball games, and one of the things we were talking about was Angel Studios and what they worked on, and they worked on Red Dead Redemption. And I talked about a physics engine that had ragdoll effects, and that's called Havoc, and that's been in place for almost a decade and a half now.
That's what it's called?
Havoc is the engine, which is owned, I think it's owned by Microsoft now.
I feel like I've seen that, like the logo for that Havoc engine.
Yeah, you've seen it on a ton of things. We were playing.
Synced them.
We were playing. I think it was Monster House on GameCube with my little guy, and I think I saw the Havoc logo on that. So it's kind of everywhere. It's pervasive because it's a system. It's like Speed Tree. Like every game uses it because it's easier to create.
You're right.
Anything new since last podcast? Any pickups, Trent?
No pickups.
Anything exciting going on?
I went to Philly last weekend for This Is Hardcore Fest, and my objective was to go to a few game stores.
You did tell me that. I
I
never asked you about it.
Thanks. I tried to find a few. Found one. I showed up there on Saturday. It said it opened at 11. I got there at 11:30. Nothing. I don't even know if it was there anymore.
Bunch of hipsters running this stuff.
No, this was kind of like in like the more
seedy?
Yeah, more seedy area. It was just called like Rick's DVDs and games or something like that.
Yeah.
But they had video on their Facebook, and they did like a King of Fighters tournament and everything. So I was like, oh, this might be.
How recently though?
Like 6 months ago, probably.
Oh,
it looked like it was legit. And
what about when you got to the store? What did it look like?
It looks like it was just kind of like a downtown area, like random stores and
were there windows?
Restaurants.
Did you see inside?
It was one of those. No, like if you go to when they pull like the gate down at the end of the night when they close the store and put a lock on it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And then I tried going on East Tremont Avenue in the Bronx.
There was a lady like right next to her. I was like, "Oh, is this place here?" And she just gave me like the shrug shoulder. She's like, I was like, "All right, well, I guess not."
She just went, Eagles. I
don't even think she understood what I asked her. So I was just like,
that's disappointing.
All right, well, I'm out.
That's disappointing. That would have been nice if you would have been able to.
There was like 2 more, but I was like, I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
Never have enough time.
Never have enough time. That's our lives now, with all the things that we're doing with our adult lives.
So no pickups.
That's all right. I got 3D baseball.
Man,
that was one of them that we were talking about that I'm missing.
He did it.
And it's just, we talk about like these baseball games that are great, and it's like you don't have to do a lot. You don't have to do a lot to make a good baseball game. You just have to have a good batter pitcher mechanic and guys that can run around the field easily. I mean, it's as simple as that. And 3D baseball, man, chugs like hell.
Well, the name like 3D baseball.
The characters look like cardboard cutouts. The only thing that's 3D about it is the batter. None of the other characters are 3D. They're all cardboard cutouts.
So what should we call it? Well, it's baseball. It's 3D. 3D baseball.
Another one of these like kind of rare baseball games. All-Star Baseball 97 starring Frank Thomas. I was talking to you the other day about this.
The Big Hood.
Goes for like $120, $140 now. Like, what the hell is going on?
What the F?
I mean, effectively, that game sucks.
Well, no, yeah.
So, anyways, 3D. The only saving grace for 3D baseball that I did like is that it's got a very 8-bit, 16-bit mechanic for hitting. All it is the ball comes through the strike zone, and you just have to swing and time it.
You either swing or you bunt.
Yeah. You just have to time it, and then if you time it right, it'll go into the field. But then it gets into the field, and it's just like everything is chugging, just like 5 frames a second, just trying
like a hardcore breakdown. It's like they're ready for it.
Like eagle ape hybrids.
It's like
Yeah. So, but I've been playing a lot more World Series Baseball '98, and it's like it's to the point where my wife hates it. Like every time she's like, "You playing your stupid game?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm taking a half an hour to play a game after a long day of work."
yeah,
okay?
we're in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Chill out.
Yeah. So I pulled together a full season. I'm the Yanks. 17-0. I probably should have upped the difficulty, but I've had some heavy heated games. But I don't know if you guys have ever gone through this, and you probably have if you've been playing games for any length of time. But it's like I find myself like thinking about the game when I'm not playing it. You know, like like I just want to get back home to play the game.
When I was like 15, yeah.
I feel like I'm like 7 years old in Mrs. Shepard's first grade class, and I just want to get home and play Sonic the Hedgehog. You know, like I remember feeling like, okay, if I get my math work done faster, maybe the day will go faster, and I'll get back home to be able to play Sonic the Hedgehog. That's how I feel about World Series Baseball. It's like any chance I get, I want to play that game because it's just a blast to play and it's fun, and that's what video games are all about.
That was like every day in middle school. Like when GoldenEye came out.
I know what you mean. Yeah, you just want to get back home.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's kind of like I don't get those feelings a lot. Like I don't have that opportunity to feel like, man, I really want to get home to play this game. So it's kind of cool when you're feeling like you're enjoying a game and playing it, and it's like it's just the thing that you do.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
you get into that groove. Anyways, so that's it. I got some other pickups, but I'm not going to talk about them because we'll be here for about 4 hours.
We could do a whole episode on just your pickups.
Yeah, I've lost my mind officially going after the Saturn collection.
Many a Saturn game.
Why don't we get into our modern retro moment, which moving forward we like to call our what do we call it, Trent? Our it's still real to me, damn it moment.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Never gets old. So I was checking out on YouTube. There's these guys called My Life in Gaming. You've probably heard of them. They do a lot of retro technology setups, and they also do game reviews and modern games that are coming out and kind of technical stuff about them. But there's a game that came out on July 11th called Blazing Chrome.
Oh.
Did you hear about this?
Blazing Chrome. No, I haven't.
It's essentially Contra Hardcore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Contra Hardcore
I didn't see it.
Is like back.
It's back, baby.
Yeah. They basically said like Alien Wars, Contra 3, Alien Wars, and Contra Hardcore.
And Crystal Pepsi.
It's like in Crystal Pepsi. It's like a mashup of the three. They actually, you can get a Crystal Pepsi gun in the game. No, you can't get a Crystal Pepsi gun, but yeah. So you got to check this game out. It
like
looks,
an indie company.
It is. It looks just like Contra Hardcore, like the mechanics.
Hardcorps,
as you like to call it. Yeah.
It's only what it says on the box.
Yeah, and of course I haven't played it, which sucks. I want to play these games, but then how would I be able to play World Series Baseball '98?
It'd be taking time away from that.
Yeah,
and I can't do that to myself.
So I did notice that with World Series Baseball '98 that there's like specific.
We're going back to World Series Baseball. So I was playing Crash Bandicoot, and I was thinking of World Series Baseball at the same time.
I was just gonna say that the character models, there's like 8 character models, and they just pick one.
I know that.
They just pick one for the guy, and they. It's not like each character is modeled after itself.
We did talk about that.
Yeah, but as I've been playing it more, there's like 2 black guys, 2 white guys, 2 Spanish guys. I don't think there's any.
And then just whatever else they just use.
I haven't seen an Asian guy, but.
Hideki Matsui?
Ron,
too early?
the officer, Karkovice.
Cecil.
The big dog, Fielder. Enough. The TurboGrafx 16 Mini got announced. Any thoughts about that? No? Okay, let's move on.
We're just boom, 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 boom. Let's get to the main event.
I have nothing to say about the TurboGrafx 16 mini, and I'm not trying to throw shade at the TurboGrafx, but
No disses.
I don't know, man.
No subliminals.
If I felt like I was more of an authority on the TurboGrafx, I probably would talk more about it. But it's the TurboGrafx, and there are some really good games on it. If you're really into the TurboGrafx, buy it. If not, then you're not going to be worse for the wear.
Yeah, there's no no one really has any nostalgia feeling over a TurboGrafx as opposed to the Genesis Mini.
The Genesis or the Super Nintendo or.
But it's weird that they're coming. I think it's supposed to come out in March, which you think you would try to pump it out if anything before Christmas or the holidays. You know.
I'm still thinking about the Polymega, but I'm just like $500. Like that's. It's just a lot of dough to give up for I mean, it's great, and I kind of want it.
Got to check out some reviews of it first before we
it looks
dive
it looks really promising.
It does.
Do you know what the scheduled date is for that? That's supposed to come out.
I don't know. I don't know. I probably would have seen a review already if it was out.
Yeah.
But I thought they started shipping them because they're taking orders on their site. They've been taking orders for a while.
Do you have to put in a pre-order? Do you know?
Yeah.
You have to put in a pre-order to get one?
No, they did a pre-order a while back. Now they're just taking orders.
Oh, okay. Okay. They're taking regular orders.
But
gotcha.
I don't think it's been. It must still be pre-orders because obviously there would have been reviews like posted up all over YouTube, unless there is. But I haven't seen any. I figured I would have seen like Metal Jesus or all of them would have already had their review console, and everyone would have been talking about it already.
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough about modern retro. Let's get into our topics of the day, which is why we're here. That's pretty good.
You know,
That's pretty good. Excitebike, the original Excitebike, is a motorcycle game that came out on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and it actually launched with the Nintendo Entertainment System.
the dirt bikes.
So, the problem with the launch date, which I don't have an exact one, is, and Frank Cifaldi, who is a gaming historian,
Oh, Frank?
and was trying to figure out with Super Mario Brothers when that exact date was, because by all accounts, Super Mario Brothers did launch with the NES after all the research, and there were 17 other games that launched with it, one of them being Excitebike.
Damn, 17 games?
18 games total.
Oh, man.
Almost like the Dreamcast launch.
That's a tight grip.
Yeah, there's some really good ones in there. So these are the black box series of games
With the pixelated cover.
which is
The zoomed in picture.
which is fantastic. You know, that when you saw that box with the action series with the guy kind of like moving forward and like the trail with the graphics with the pixels moving
The zoomed
forward
in, yeah.
is for me, I have like this, like it like hits me when I see that.
Right in the heart, man.
Yeah, it's just a special thing. You talk about Excitebike, Super Mario Brothers,
Ice Climber,
Don't even get me started on Kung Fu.
Hogan's Alley,
That's right.
Pro Wrestling.
Wrecking Crew was another one. We're not gonna announce all of them, but Excitebike was one of them. Now, just through taking a look at the evidence from the past of when this thing launched, all accounts are really pointing to October 19th of 1985 as the official starting launch date in New York City, and I think it was just New York City actually at that time that they launched. At FAO Schwartz was the first sale of the NES, and Excitebike was one of those games. It was designed by Shigeru Miyamoto, who's the
God.
Yeah, he's the god of gaming, and a gentleman by the name of Toshihiko Nagako. R&D Division 1. So R&D Division 1 was the division that designed the Game Boy in 1988, 1989.
Right.
Which is headed by Gunpei Yokoi, who also designed the Virtual Boy and then got basically fired by Nintendo for that, for creating the Virtual Boy, which was a gigantic
We've enjoyed
flop.
your time, but we've had enough.
Well, basically what they do in Japan too, when somebody makes something or just doesn't do well or is shamed, they don't fire them. They just put them in an office away from everybody and basically let them stare at a wall until they
Force themselves
essentially take their own life and leave.
out. Ay.
Yeah. So there's a big honor thing there that they have. So Shigeru Miyamoto, Toshihiko Nagako, and then with those two guys, along with them, Takashi Tezuka. These are the three guys. They call them like the Holy Trinity of Nintendo development back in the day. These three guys were responsible for
The Three Horsemen.
That's right, like Super Mario Brothers, The Legend of Zelda. I mean, all the great hits. Excitebike. When you look back at Nintendo history, these three guys have more to do with Nintendo's success than almost anybody. And that's why they call them kind of like the dream team, so to speak. Now, Excitebike was the very first game that Miyamoto and Nagako worked on together. So it was their very first project together. Interesting fact, Toshihiko Nagako was actually the main programmer for Super Mario Bros. 3.
Ooh.
So, are you a Super Mario Bros. 3 guy or a Super Mario World guy?
Wow. You really got to pick one?
If you got to take one, and I want you to take your historical nostalgia into play, because if we're just looking at the games themselves, Super Mario World is a much more fleshed out, better game, better graphics, better sound, more worlds, more.
Man, that is tough.
But a lot of people say Mario World is basically just Super Mario Bros. 3 2.
Yeah, but oh man.
You don't have to decide.
Mario 3. I'm going to go with Mario 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with my wife today about it, and I think we both said Mario 3 is the one that we like, kind of like is more nostalgic for us. And that one basically blew up, Super Mario Brothers. When you look at Super Mario Brothers 2, it's kind of like a different game.
Well, yeah.
Completely
different.
Yeah, so it kind of brought it back to the roots, but also expanded it in a different way where it just became something that much bigger.
Yeah, because if you're going from 1 to 3, from Mario
huge.
1 to 3, yeah, with all the extra stuff they put into it, and
I'm with you.
Mario 3.
We don't have to talk about it anymore.
Get the raccoon suit.
Oh yeah.
Hop in that boot.
You don't even last long in the boot. You're in the boot for 5 seconds, but you see it all the time.
Get in the boot.
The boot, or is the boot also the one that turns into stone, or is that a different one?
Stone?
Yeah, there's a suit you can get to turn Mario into stone, which I don't know what the reasoning is, but he can turn it into stone, and he has a staff, and he can't get he's not recognized by anybody, or he doesn't get touched.
Huh. I don't know.
You probably never even got it. I mean, it's I
don't remember a stone.
It's on one level.
The only way that would make sense
World 7 or
is when you're in the dungeons and you got the boos chasing you because they only chase after you.
Right.
When you're not looking at them or facing them.
The boo-boos. So it is a left to right scrolling motorcycle game.
You would say from left to right, from left to right.
7 deaths, baby. Now, the goal is to finish at least 8 seconds ahead of the third place rider, and in the bottom left screen it shows you what the third place rider's time is. So as long as you get 8 seconds ahead of that,
either you're gonna ride dirty like a rider.
I'll wait.
That's it.
Okay. So there's 10 races and there's 5 levels, so you can ride on each level twice. Each level has a challenge race and then it has an Excitebike race. The challenge races are basically your Excitebike rider on their own. And the Excitebike races is where you're racing against other competitors.
Time trial?
It's almost like a time trial. And you have to, in the time trial, you have to get at least third or better to get to the Excitebike race. So it kind of goes from challenge to Excitebike, and then you go to the second level, and then you do the challenge, and then the Excitebike. So it goes back and forth. You have to place third or better in the challenge races. Yep. There are tougher time limits on the actual Excitebike races than the challenge races. It's a very simple yet sophisticated game, and if you guys haven't seen gameplay of Excitebike, hopefully we'll throw some up so you can see what we're talking about. But if you've seen it, you sort of know what we're talking about. It's a very simple yet sophisticated game. There's a pullback mechanic to
ride that wheelie.
There's a wheelie mechanic to go over certain jumps so that you can get farther jumps.
Yeah, you gotta if you pull back and then you kind of lean forward when you're going over those huge jumps.
when you're landing.
Yeah.
Yep. There's grass areas where you want to make sure you're either flying over or speeding through, so that because they chug your motorcycle and you start to go slower. Redlining your engine is a very important thing too. So there's a turbo button and then there's a regular speed button. And really what you want to do is go back and forth between the turbo. When you start to redline, you want to go back and let your engine cool down, because if you redline too much and use too much turbo, your vehicle will overheat. It'll have to be pulled to the side and you'll have to wait a few seconds so it will cool down before you get back on the dirt track. But the problem with that is that that'll affect your time greatly and possibly put you in a position to not finish above third place. So that whole mechanic, there's a lot of strategy involved in that. And you also have to deal with the obstacles of the track, because there's different jumps that are different heights and there's barriers that you have to go over.
You got the mud.
You have to avoid the CPU racers. The CPU racers seem to just get in your way as you're going through. And there's dirt patches that you try to avoid, but then you might hit a rider at the same time. And one of the things that you want to do is you want to clip the CPU racer's front tire with your back tire. If you do that, you will make them crash. If it works the other way around and your front tire gets clipped, you're going to tumble and tumble and tumble, and then you'll be thrown off your bike. You need to go back on your bike, so you have to tap the A button really, really fast and get back on it. So that's another thing that would slow you down. So you have to do wheelies at the right time, like you were saying, to take these jumps. And when you do a wheelie at the right time, you get this almost like an extra jump, like a speed jump over the terrain and farther into the track. So there's a lot of strategy. As simple as this game is, as being a launch title, there is a lot of strategy to try to finish in the top positions, which makes the game a lot of fun and provides a lot of replay value to see if you can get into the higher positions.
That top tier level.
Another innovation with this game was programmable tracks.
Hell yeah.
So you could actually create your own. I think this has got to be the first game I've ever heard of
With like a creator, make your own track.
With a create anything.
Yeah.
And you could actually go there. There's a selection when you start the game called design mode. And when you go into design mode, you can design a track, and there are different letters at the bottom of the screen which indicate or are placeholders for different jumps.
Put little bumps, big jumps,
and you can essentially make your own track in the way that you want, and then you can race on that track against the other racers and make it a real track. So, I remember.
Can you save a few of them? I forgot how to save them.
So,
is there a password thing?
There is a save and load feature present in the game, but it doesn't work.
so it just doesn't save them?
No.
Oh.
So
until it saves it until you turn it off.
Until you turn it off, and you can only do one at a time.
Because you'd have to have a battery in the cartridge, right?
Nope. So this is a lost feature of the Famicom version. So in Japan, this game came out for the Nintendo Famicom, which is the equivalent to the NES. And the NES itself had a cassette cartridge adapter that could plug into the Famicom. And what you could do with Excitebike was plug in one of these cassettes and hit record as you're creating this track. And your track, whatever you make, would be stored on the cassette tape.
I gotcha.
As crazy as that sounds, that you use a cassette tape to store a track. But that device that they used was not brought over. But the game itself was not changed when it came over to the United States.
Right.
Okay. And fun fact, in addition to that, the original NES cartridges, most of the launch day cartridges that were out of Excitebike have a Famicom adapter inside of them, because the game that's actually in the cartridge is a Famicom game. And so people will take these original cartridges, they'll take the Famicom adapter out and make their very own Famicom adapter for their NES, so they can play any Famicom game.
I see.
So the original,
I did not know that.
The original cartridges had 5 regular screws in the cartridge, and there were no tabs at the top. The NES cartridges have a tab at the top, and then typically 3 of the game bit screws on the back. So if you find one that has 5 screws and regular star tip screws, there's a good chance there might be a Famicom adapter in there. And if you find one, you can basically, put a plastic shell on that and then use it to play Famicom games on your NES, essentially.
If you're into that, yeah.
If you're so inclined. But I thought that was kind of a neat fact that they didn't have enough supply at the launch, and they needed to actually use Famicom PCB boards. It's amazing to me that they were able to do that. But it just goes to show that they use a lot of English language in Japan.
The more you know.
As you always say. There was a Versus Excitebike version in the arcades from 1984, which is almost identical to this. It had a couple more stages. It had a little bit better parallax. And there's also a mechanic in the game where the Excitebike name comes from. So Excitebike is not just we're excited to play the game. The name Excitebike comes from the fact that if you clip in this Versus Excitebike game, which came out before the NES game, if you clipped the front tire, as we talked about, clipping the front tire of the CPUs, if you clip 5 in a row without getting hit,
oh boy,
you have unlimited turbo.
Your
character turns gold.
Oh, really?
Yep, and you have unlimited turbo, so you can basically lay on the turbo button and just speed through the entire thing. Once you get hit, you lose the turbo.
It's like being on fire.
It's sort of like
an NBA Jam.
You're exactly right. Yeah, that's a good analog, and it actually goes from track to track too. So if you finish a track with the turbo, you'll continue on the next track with the turbo.
Nice.
Which I wish that they put into the NES cartridge. That would have been a lot of fun. As an added little.
Yeah, definitely would have.
Little bit,
Little Easter egg.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, I wonder if that's in the NES game, but alas, it's not. So you can excite your bike.
Oh.
Kind of sounds like it has a little connotation to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
By doing that, so that would be kind of fun. Does Barcade have a Versus Excitebike?
I don't think so. Did they put those on like the Nintendo Player Choice?
The Play Choice 10?
Was that on there? Excitebike? No. Right?
No, I think it was, but I think.
Wait, so what did they have on there?
But I think Versus Excitebike is different than Excitebike on the Play Choice 10.
You just have a joystick on the Excitebike arcade one?
It had a joystick and 2 buttons, just like the NES controller.
I was just figuring how to.
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be harder to maneuver, like with a joystick on that game. I don't know.
Well, but remember, there's the lanes, so you would flick it up, flick it down. So and it's a bat. It's a bat stick too. It's not a ball.
Oh.
You a bat or a ball guy?
I don't think there's any way to answer that.
I'm more of a ball guy.
Yeah.
It's just like the bats. When you hold them, it's hard to control it. The ball, at least you got something to hold on to.
Are we talking about video games still?
We are talking about the arcades, baby.
You're talking about Excitebike.
I'm talking about Excitebike, but it uses bats, so it's not for me.
Yeah.
I'm into balls.
Pause.
So, memories of this game. Trent.
Memories.
I mean, you. Let's start with you. You tell me what do you remember about
I think
this
the
game?
first time I ever played it was. Do you want to take a guess who I played it with? There's like 3 friends that I always
all right, hold on.
it wasn't Matt Phillips.
Damn you. Matt Phillips wouldn't be around no NES.
He's too good for that.
He's into the Sega system. I'm gonna go out of left field here.
Mm-hmm.
Little foreshadowing. I'm gonna say Matt Marchand.
Ooh. No.
It
was
Johnny Z.
We're done. You've had enough, sir.
All right, fine.
It was Jesse Clark.
Of course. Good old Jesse Clark.
And I believe it was. I went over from what I remember, I went over his house. I think he was watching Tailspin. Can you
nail down like a date or like when this would have been?
It had to be middle school. No, it couldn't have been middle school. Man,
middle school.
No, I'm trying to think.
Talking about like 64 era.
It was probably like before I got the Super Nintendo. So
did you get your Sega before your Super?
No, I got the Super Nintendo first.
So you're talking like 90. We talked about this with the Turtles episode.
This had to be like first or second grade, maybe.
Probably second grade, I would think. 92.
Yeah.
We said 92.
And I feel like I went over his house after school, and he was already playing it.
So you were 8.
And I had never seen the game before.
So you had Super or no?
At that point, yeah, I must have. But-
So you went back to Excitebike from Super Nintendo.
It must have been because I never played it like when. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think Johnny did. I think Johnny did.
Z.
I think he did have.
Well, I guess you're wrong. So.
I think he did have Excitebike, but I totally blocked that out because I just remember going over to Jesse Clark's one time after school and he was playing it and I was just like, what are you playing? He's like, dude, Excitebike. And then
he was a year younger than us though, wasn't
he? Yeah. And then we just started playing it and I was like, man, this is pretty great. And then he got into the track editing and I was like, oh man, this is where it's at. Like, make your own course. That was like.
But how was that for you going from you had gotten into the 16-bit era and then you kind of went back to?
Yeah, but we kept playing Nintendo like right after.
Did you?
Yeah, it's not like we got rid of it. We still kept playing Nintendo.
Okay. Yeah, I think when we got our Genesis, it was kind of like. We kind of packed up the NES.
We put it in its box and threw it in the attic.
I don't know if it was because my mom was like, you can't have two systems out here, like in the living room, or if it was just we just didn't want to play it anymore, or
yeah, we still kept playing Nintendo.
I don't think we got rid of it though. I think we had it still.
But I think that was the time I remember playing it, and I feel like I picked it up. Like I think I eventually ended up picking up at like the flea market, like way back then.
Oh, okay. Is that this copy?
Honestly, I don't think so.
Okay. Thanks for being honest.
This is probably like the fourth one.
I know, right? I didn't even know if I had it. I had to look in my collection.
Well, yeah, I had two copies.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just sold the other one for a couple bucks.
Right. Mine is freshly Q-tipped, so
ooh,
we're ready to go
with the alcohol on it.
Absolutely, it's still a great way to clean your cartridges. I don't care what anybody says. A little alcohol and Q-tip.
Yeah, so Funkoland used to. They used to like force you to buy those. Their cleaning kits.
Those cleaning kits aren't bad though.
All it was it was just alcohol in the bottle, and they had those like.
Even though the back of the NES cartridge says "Do not use any benzene, alcohol, whatever on it."
Call Nintendo Direct and order from us. Yeah, because they had like the fake cartridge, and you would put it in.
But that actually worked. That actually.
No,
works.
I know, but
because you had no way to get into the cartridge port.
Yeah.
So that actually did work.
And they had those like little they almost look like a flat paintbrush thing you would use for the cartridges.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think was it Naki or Nike or whatever how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
It was like the pink
cartridge.
And you put everything inside the like the cleaning cartridge. It had like a little door on it. You could put
that was for the Super Nintendo.
Was it?
Yeah, and the Genesis one. Yeah. But the NES one didn't have that. Yeah.
I just remember like
it just had the handle, and you would just like.
I just remember the guy at Funko. I remember the guy at Funkoland like. Pretty much like forced me to buy one.
But that's what they did back then. Whenever you guys like let us know. But like whenever you got a new system or like a used system at Funkoland, they always were like, well, do you want to get the cleaning kit?
Well, I mean, when Nintendo was the worst.
They would upsell you.
Nintendo was the worst one though. Like in terms of like the cartridges, like not playing.
Right. I mean, that was more than dirt though. That was just give on the 72 pin connector. So, back, we've talked about my history and the first system that I ever owned, which was the Atari 7800. So, you still good, or are you?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm trying to track down when we actually purchased it. So I grew up in a split level house in Rocky Hill, Connecticut, which is sort of like a suburb of. Oh, there you go. Nice. Yep, it did have the. That's another version.
I knew it.
That might be from a different company, though. Is that Naki?
Oh, I don't know, but that's the one I remember.
So I grew up in like a suburb of Hartford called Rocky Hill. Not grew up. I started my life there, and I was trying to track down the dates because. The Atari 7800 is the first system we ever owned, but it didn't come out until about the middle of 1986. And I'm thinking that if we ever got a system, it would have been for either Christmas or it would have been for my brother's birthday. So Sebi was about 7 years old at that time. So I'm thinking that we probably got the Atari for Christmas in 1986. Is my guess that we got it. And we had Pole Position and we had Frogger. Those were the two games that we had for.
That's all you need.
Pole Position 2 and Frogger. And Fishing Derby wouldn't have been too bad, or
Fishing derby
Fishing Derby's great. Never played Fishing Derby?
on the 7800.
No, 2600.
Oh,
It would have been nice to have the Fishing Derby at that point in time. My uncle Anthony had all the Atari 2600 games. It was
Yo,
the
you want it? I got it.
It was like the
bro.
place to go. So, and I have no way of finding out now when we had gotten it. But my best guess is that we got it in early 1987, because when we got the Atari 7800, almost immediately it was like, we followed everything that my uncles got, and they had gotten an NES probably shortly thereafter, and so my brother, of course, had to have one. And so I'm thinking in early 1987, or maybe, if not, it could have been at the end of 1987, but it's somewhere in 1987 we had gotten our NES, and it was the Super Mario Brothers bundle. It was the, not the original bundle, but Super Mario Brothers with 2 controllers. And we had also gotten Kung Fu. That was the other game that we owned. And we also had Excitebike. We had 3 games. Super Mario Brothers,
That ain't bad.
Kung Fu, Excitebike. I don't know if my father just thought, well,
Kung Fu, huh?
go with more of the sports stuff, with the Excitebike. But Kung Fu was another one. Don't ask me why. We ended up getting Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! In 1988 when that came out. So we had, we got a little bit of a selection, but that very, very early point in time was those 3 games. And, I can remember sitting in front of the console television, and I told you I was trying to look up this console television.
One of those wood grain TVs.
There's no way to even, there's so many of these things I thought I might have tracked it down. I thought it was a Magnavox, but it was just a console TV. So you think of the wood grain TV with a speaker on the right-hand side and the tube television on the middle left-hand side. And every morning I would sit in front of this TV. We would kind of come down it was like 3 steps from my crib bedroom, and I would just sit in front of this TV. And I thankfully had my mom home, and she would make me like 3 bottles of milk every morning. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, she would heat up 3 bottles of milk for me. And I can remember just being...
You're the weakest of the bunch.
Yeah. I just remember being glued to the front of the TV, either watching cartoons or playing Nintendo, because that was the very first system I actually ever played itself. And Excitebike was one of those games that I kind of fell in love with, along with Kung Fu and Mario Kart. So it kind of has a special place. And I just remember the thing that really gripped me about Excitebike was, I can't really say the parallax because that's really hard to tell in that game. It's like
when you're 4,
but it's also kind of like the top of the screen is moving at a faster rate than the front, but it's kind of just simulated. It's not really there's layers there.
Yeah.
It was more so the sense of speed. The horizontal scrolling in that game was on another level from Super Mario Brothers. And I'm not going to say that Super Mario Brothers is not the better game, but there was a sense of speed because the horizontal scrolling was so fast at that time that you just felt like you were playing something that was extra special. And so that was the thing I got out of that game the most, was just the sense of speed. Moving left to right was really, really fast compared to any other game that had come out around that time. Even Kung Fu is left to right and right to left, but that game moves methodically.
No one's trying to play Kung Fu.
I love Kung Fu. I love Kung Fu, but that's fair. That's fine. But the sense of speed in that game is what really got me. It was just, and the progression of trying to not get hit, because when you get hit in that game, it just throws all your energy off. It throws your groove off. You kind of have to start over again. You're starting from square one. So, but I just remember a lot of fun with that game. I remember we would go 2 days a week. I would go to this art preschool, and we would make fucking piñatas and shit, and I remember I made this triangle with a sticker and some glitter on it, and it was yeah, that's an ornament.
Macaroni monsters.
Yeah. And I just remember coming home from this art class, which was fun, and just wanting to play my Nintendo and play games like Excitebike. So it just, thinking of Excitebike makes me think of of that period of time where it was like just me and my mom, and thankfully she was there and she would take me everywhere we went, and it was like a safe place to really dig into that stuff and enjoy it. So I remember one time I just, all I did every day was just sit in front of the TV. Probably wasn't good for me. Probably the reason why I'm the way I am now. But I just remember seeing a Chloraseptic commercial. Like
Jesus.
Like when your throat is
yeah, I know
sore.
yeah.
and I remember going to the bathroom. I climbed up the steps, went into the bathroom. Nobody's around. I climbed on top of the sink. Think of a regular like house bathroom. As a 3-year-old, I climbed onto the sink, opened up the medicine cabinet, and I just pulled out anything I could find that looked like it had something I could push down, and I put it in my mouth and squirted it. And,
ooh.
Yeah, and I actually think it was Chloraseptic.
Like hairspray.
No, I think it was Chloraseptic. Because I remember saying to myself, I think I saw that in the bathroom.
So you had to try it.
So I had to try it. I mean, come on, what do you know as a kid? It's just like, oh, they do it in the commercial.
I was like basically like taking a shot of alcohol.
Kind of. I just remember I remember squirting it and just being like, almost like when Harry and Lloyd and Dumb and Dumber eat the pepper, like when
slapping their tongues.
That's how I felt. Like I just grabbed the closest towel and just wiped the inside of my esophagus
Started
out.
squirting mustard into your mouth.
So anyways, Excitebike reminds me of
of throat spray.
Of a simpler time.
A Ludens.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about like the other, I can't even think about any other racing games on Nintendo. Like, did you ever play any other racing games on Nintendo? Really?
Rad Racer, I guess.
But was that 2-player?
No, it was more like Outrun.
Yeah. Like, were there any really like good races? It's like they came out, Excitebike, a launch title, and then like what other I don't really remember.
Well, but Excitebike's not a 2-player game.
I don't remember playing any other racing games though, besides Excitebike.
You're talking about early, or are you just talking about
Nintendo?
Just in general.
On Nintendo.
Just Nintendo. I guess you're right. I can't.
Like they were just there was like a lot of bad like NASCAR kind of style games.
When I think of the NES, I think of the platformers. That's like the biggest thing. And then, well, there is Iron Man, Ivan, whatever, the Super Off Road.
Okay, yeah.
Not that I owned that back in the day.
No, that was yeah.
It's a Trade West joint.
Yeah, actually that was the jam.
That's a good one.
And I guess
Danny Sullivan's Indy Heat.
Al Unser Jr.'s.
What was the one that Tom Cruise was in? Days of Thunder. Isn't that one? Isn't that an
yeah, Konami.
Is it really?
Konami made Days of Thunder. I'm almost positive.
There are racing games, but
they're not good.
but I don't think of the NES when I think of really great racing games. But
it still hadn't evolved where it was still like in the early stages, like the racing kind of style games.
Let's put it this way: Excitebike to me is the like racing game that I always think of as like the one for me on NES. Yeah. So that's just my take on it. Is I don't think I ever owned another sports game on NES, and so maybe that's just it. But it's a damn good one. It's a simple game, but it doesn't, like we've talked about in the past. You don't need to have a really sophisticated game to have it be fun. So yeah, if we can move on from that, then Excitebike is a great game. We're gonna play it and give you our thoughts coming away from that. I've got great memories of it. When was the last time you played Excitebike?
Oh man, jeez, probably
can't remember, huh?
No, probably over 10 years ago.
That's for me too.
It was we probably played it. We just don't remember.
It might be 10. It might be 30 years ago. It doesn't really. At that point, it doesn't really matter.
It could have been when I was still in Willimantic.
I just remember, having a good time with it. So we'll let you guys know what we think. So moving on, let's get to Excitebike 64. Now, this is the actual successor to Excitebike.
It took a while, huh?
It's the first successor. So it was created in...
Well, yeah, there was, sidebar. Yeah. There was also, I also remember Jesse Clark had it.
Oh boy.
Which was like the Game Boy version of Excitebike, Motocross Maniacs.
Ah.
Did you ever play that one? I don't remember who made it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
I
about.
I want to say it was Konami, but that's just throwing a guess out right now.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, it almost played. It was a little more like ridiculous. There was like crazy loop-de-loops and other stuff in it, but it was very similar to Excitebike.
I think that was an early game, wasn't it?
I mean,
On the Game Boy?
it could have been. I remember he had it at like the same time, and yeah, it was another. It was actually really good too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to say Konami did it though.
You could call that a kind of like an unofficial sequel.
Yeah.
But the official sequel came out on April 30th of 2000. So you're talking from the Famicom version about 16 years. 15 years if you want to call from the launch of the NES.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. And it was it was developed by Left Field Productions.
Oh, Left Field. Griffey? Who did Left Field?
No, it was Angel Studios, remember?
Oh, why is Left Field important?
I will tell you. So it was obviously published by Nintendo. It was created. So Left Field created the Slam and Jam franchise.
Oh God.
On the 3DO, PS1, and Saturn, which is fantastic. Slam and Jam is a sleeper hit. That game is a lot of fun. It is in the style of Run and Gun Basketball, which is an arcade game. You can.
That's the one on Super Nintendo, right? Or what's the one? Is Slam and Jam?
Saturn, PlayStation 1, and 3DO.
What was the one on?
It was on 3DO. It was Slam and Jam 95. On Saturn and PlayStation, it was Slam and Jam 96, starring Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson.
Yeah, but what's the one on Super Nintendo that kind of is that Run and Gun? That kind of plays similar to that. I have it. Remember? Remember when we played it? We were like, "Oh, isn't that Run and Gun?"
No, and it's pretty good. No,
yeah, no. I'm saying
it's not Run and Gun though. It's not Run and Gun. NCAA basketball kind of has that mechanic too.
That mode set. No, that was the
OG. Where they flip the screen. So it is a top to bottom basketball game. So it's
power bottom.
So it's not left to right like a normal basketball game that you would play. Let's say like an NBA 2K 17 or whatever.
Right.
I think that's side to side, right? Am I wrong about that? The new 2K basketball games, are they left to right or are they up and down?
You can change it.
You can switch it.
Yeah.
You can switch it.
You can do like a kind of like I've had a slant, or you can do it left to right, or like up and down.
Okay. Well, traditionally in this era, you had left to right basketball games, and so this was sort of novel in that way.
Bulls versus Blazers.
It wasn't Bulls versus Blazers. You're trying
no, I'm just saying left to right basketball games, NBA Jam and all that.
Oh, but NBA Live 96, like 97, NBA Shootout, which is terrible.
Yeah, NBA Live is when they switched it. It was like that.
That was the isometric
slant, yeah.
But when they came to the 3D basketball games, like the 32-bit basketball games, most of them were left to right. Konami made one. It was called like what is it now? I can't even remember what it was.
Isn't that the one I'm thinking of for Super Nintendo?
No. Konami had like in the bottom of the ninth baseball era, like Konami had their sports series, and it was like NBA Fast Break or something like that. And that was left that was left to right as well. I'm not sure if it was called Fast Break, but anyways. Slam and Jam is it's an arcadey basketball game, but think of like an NBA Jam but 5-on-5. There's no real players; it's all made up stuff except for Kareem and Magic. And
sick.
You can break the glass on a dunk. You can break the rim, like high flying 3-pointers, and just a real smooth scrolling plane. It's hard to describe, but that game is a lot of fun. You like it, right?
Yeah.
It's a real easy pick up and play basketball game.
That's what it needs to be.
And so they did that. They did Kobe Courtside,
which is a jam.
Which is a good game.
A pun intended.
Yeah, it is. Came out in 1998. I picked that up at Caldor on sale in 1998.
Oh.
If anybody knows what Caldor is.
$49.99.
Probably something like that. $39.99. And then they also made the Dave Mirra BMX games.
That that was out of my league. I wasn't extreme enough for the Dave Mira.
Right. So
But I'm sure it was pretty decent.
So apparently they only make racing games with 2 wheels and basketball games. That's like their forte.
Hey, if you're good at it, keep going.
For some reason. But that's basically those are the highlights of their production. Like I said, it is a direct sequel to the original Excitebike game. There's 20 tracks plus special unlockable tracks. Harkening back, it's almost like an homage to the original game. There is a track editor. You need a memory card to save more than one track.
Well, we got plenty of memory cards.
But you can save up to like 16 tracks on a memory card of your own choosing. There is a turbo button that does heat up just like the original Excitebike if you're using it. The same tire clipping mechanic from the original is there. Now think of more of a 3D motocross realistic game, but still taking these sort of gimmicks or these play mechanics and moving them into that third dimension.
And just so everyone knows, we haven't played Excitebike 64, right?
I have not played it.
I haven't either.
Oh, I thought you had history with the game. Okay, all right, that's okay.
No, we actually haven't played it, so this is kind of more just like a factual run through of what the game had.
I gotta say, I'm excited to play it though.
Ooh, you're excited for Excitebike?
Oh damn! Did I just do that? I really am. I mean, this game sounds like a lot of fun. There's
I know it had expansion pack, right? It used the expansion pack.
Yep. So you could actually up the resolution.
And I'm sure you have it in there, but from what I remember, does it have the original as an unlockable in it? It does.
It has the original.
Yes.
Yeah, you got it.
I knew that.
Good for you.
Because I do remember seeing the reviews for it, and I remember it. I think it got pretty good reviews, and I remember that being mentioned as one of the hidden things in it.
Yeah. I'll tell my thoughts about when that game came out soon in here, but there were 5 special tracks, and one of them was the original Excitebike game that you could unlock. One of them was a 3D version of the original track style. So it's got the lanes, and it's got the.
But it looks like the regular 64 version.
So it's think of the 64 version with the 64 graphics, but the textures are all like from the original. So it's got a dirt track. It's got 4 lanes, and then it's got the little speed icons that reduce your turbo meter.
Right.
So it's got all of the original sort of elements in a 3D modeled game. There's also one special mode or track, if you want to call it, called soccer. And you're on the motorcycle trying to hit the soccer ball into a goal. What does that remind you of?
What do you mean?
Rocket League.
Oh wow! There's
crazy like PS4, Xbox game that everybody's gone nuts over.
I think there were some other games that had that.
Who knows if they got that from this game?
Who knows? I think there were some other games too, some other racing games that had like a feature like that.
It blew my mind to learn that they had a soccer game feature, just like Rocket League.
Oh man,
I think talk about like a pioneer. That people go nuts for that game.
I think there were some other like other dirt bike racing games that had like a soccer mode in it or something similar to that.
I just couldn't believe that this had a soccer mode.
I don't believe it.
So there's some special tracks you can unlock. There's a season mode, and what's cool about it is that the season mode has a full tutorial to teach you each of the race mechanics. So how to speed up, how to do certain tricks, how to land a certain way. It teaches you how to race, how to lean into a turn, how to use your speed in a turn, how to use the L and R triggers to sort of use your, continue to speed up as you're sort of like power sliding through a turn. So it has this tutorial which kind of prepares you to play. So you're not just and it's fun because you're learning new mechanics as you go, but it's also something that's preparing you for these races as you get into them, which I kind of like. It holds your hand into it. It's not just, well, here's the race, just go and figure it out, So I like that about it. And it has, the progression is very much a F-Zero progression in this game. There's 4 circuits, and there's a sort of like a bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And you have to, you can start out on like the easy difficulty, and you can play let's say bronze and silver, and then once you beat those, you unlock the intermediate difficulty, and you can do bronze, silver, and gold. And then once you beat those, you can unlock the hard difficulty and play bronze, silver, gold, and platinum.
So it's like Mario Kart in a way.
Like Mario, but more like F-Zero, because if you think of F-Zero, had like the bronze cup, the silver cup, and the gold cup for like it was what was it? How were their modes? It was like Queen Circuit, King Circuit. Was it Queen?
I never really got into F-Zero that much.
Okay.
I only played it a few times on the 64.
I guess Mario Kart would be a good analog too, because you have to do the 50cc, the 100cc, and the 150.
Yeah, and get like all gold stars on each one.
And this kind of has that progression too. Like the easy mode is 80cc, and then the intermediate is I think 160, and then it goes to 250. Mm-hmm. So yeah, kind of in that way. It used some advanced technology actually. There's a desert track in the game that uses fractals. Do you know what fractals are?
I don't know, but is it something with where the terrain changes or something like that?
You've probably heard it, actually. You probably just didn't know.
No, because if you said it like that, then I just assumed it had to do something like that. Was like the whole thing with like Red Faction.
It can it can like procedurally generate, different models of the land as you're driving through it. So this was one of the games that actually, it was a kind of like a pioneer of using that. And then they used something in the game called inverse kinetics, which is a way to use your landing to affect the rest of the bones in the biker's body, so that when they landed, the joints would move with the kind of bounce,
like the suspension kind of.
Yeah, sort of like that. So it uses the endpoints. That when I was researching this, it uses sort of like the endpoints of your body. So let's say like your foot, and your foot hits the ground, but what that does is it affects your knee getting pushed forward, and your body sort of kind of like caving down at the same time. So it's a way it
falls
almost,
with the bike.
It almost kind of reminds me of like what motion capture does.
Yeah,
but it did it in its own computational way where you didn't need motion capture to do it. And when you look at reviews of this game, the reviewers were really impressed. It made the game look way more realistic and almost made the graphics look better because of the way the characters moved and leaned and landed in a certain way. It made the game feel like something bigger than just a like we talked about Griffey Slugfest last time, and how the characters go up to the batter's box, and you can obviously tell that the animators are trying to move the character models almost like stick figures as they're getting up to the plate, and their backs are all contorted. It's so this was around the same time that came out, and it was just more advanced, and so they were really impressed with that that mechanic and the lengths they went through to make this game a lot more realistic.
I'm excited now.
I was doing this research. I was like, I want to play this game. So it was revolutionary in those aspects, and then it also got a lot of inspiration from Wave Race. So doing the tricks off of the jumps is like one of the bigger deals of the game. Like doing different tricks is what they want. They wanted to give it that Wave Race feel, and pulling off tricks and having them be fun, but having them be easier. So that a lot of them are just single button press type of things.
Yeah,
just
that's what I like.
Make sure you hit it when you hit the jump, and you're going to do the trick. The tracks have vegetation. They've got bumps in them, so they're a lot more dynamic than other racers of the time. EGM gave it a 9 out of 10. GamePro gave it a 4 out of 5. IGN gave it a 9 out of 7. GameSpot.
You mean a 9.7?
9.7. 9 out of 7 would be great. That would be a phenomenal score.
It's like 123.
I wonder which magazines had a 7-point scale. Thanks for the correction. Yeah, 9.7 out of 10. GameSpot, which is the old videogames.com, had given it an 8.8 out of 10, and Nintendo Power gave it an 8.9 out of 10.
Solid all around.
More than solid.
Yeah.
Kind of universal praise for this game. These reviewers loved the beautiful tracks, the intuitive control, the realistic physics, the bike sounds. One of the big things was the bikes sound like real motorcycles. They don't sound like muffled, whirring, non-realistic things. Yeah, which is what they were criticizing games like Jeremy McGrath Racing and Supercross 2000.
Was that a claim? Jeremy McGrath, I think so.
I don't know. I remember Jeremy McGrath. I remember that being like a game.
Yeah.
It was almost like a you know,
I think that was a throwaway one.
like a B or a C list.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So they thought that it felt like a complete game that was just fun to play, and I just remember. Well, before I get to it, I will say that it appears that this game is what inspired Monster Games to create the Excite Truck and Excite Bots games that came out for Wii.
Well,
That this was the beginning.
come on. Well, of course.
You know, but a lot of the mechanics, because we've played that game.
Excite Truck is real good.
Excite Truck is phenomenal. Phenomenal.
And that was a launch game for
It
the
was.
Wii. With the Wii
I
too.
remember you bringing that over to my house when you first got your Wii, because you got it before me.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing, and it was like explosive. Like the trucks would explode off of these.
Honestly, that was the game that made me pre-order a Wii.
You're probably the only person to actually like
I mean, because I got
ever like verbalize that.
I wanted Zelda because it was like, well, it was coming out with it. And I wasn't really big into it, but I was like, man, this was big. But I remember they had the Wii stations at GameStops before the Wii came out. I was like, oh my god, they have a Wii set up.
Yeah.
And Excitebike was Excite Truck was on it, and I was like, this is fucking amazing. I'm pre-ordering one right now.
That's awesome.
Because it was like the first time with the motion controls, like legit motion controls, like steering and everything.
Forward,
yeah.
But it felt good.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, this is fucking awesome.
It felt good in your hands.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I think this game really inspired those games and helped those to become what they were, especially with the turbo mechanic and all that.
Yeah, come on, Nintendo, stop fucking up. Give us an Excitebike.
Seriously. So I plain up missed this game. I mean, it came out in April of 2000, which was
Yeah, that was fairly late
but it was Dreamcast time
for you.
Yeah, it was Dreamcast time. I mean, I was 6 months into owning the Dreamcast.
Yeah,
and
Dreamcast or nothing.
I had limited resources, right? So I mean, it wasn't like I was, I didn't have too much money. And every dime I had, I wanted to get like a new Dreamcast game. So I was very interested in the game, though. I remember when previews came out, and I remember distinctly seeing the EGM review and seeing that they gave it a 9 out of 10. And I said to myself, like,
really, you remember like seeing it?
Yeah,
you remember it?
Yeah, I remember when this game came out and it got universal praise, and I remember thinking like, this is amazing. Like, this is going to be an amazing game, but I'm not going to get it because it's a 64 game and that's old news, and I've got the Dreamcast, which is terrible because I feel like I would have had so much fun with this game. You know, it just seemed like
was it 4-player? It had to be, right? Or do you even know?
I don't know. I didn't see anything.
You would assume it would have to be 4-player.
Yeah, there's only like 6 racers in the game.
Oh, like at a time?
No, like
to choose from?
Actual racer, yeah, and that race on the tracks. It's a shame that I wasn't able to play it, but I remember saying like if I was buying 64 games, that's when I would have bought. You know, and I feel like this game probably would have sold a lot more. The developer said it sold about 2 million copies, but I feel like it would have sold way more if it came out like
a year earlier.
At
least a year earlier.
Even just a year earlier. Even in like April of 99. I got my 64 Christmas of 98.
Because PS2 came out, what, 2000?
2001.
2001.
March of 2001, yeah.
So people were definitely already talking about the PS2 then.
PS2 and Dreamcast. I mean, Dreamcast.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it had already been out. So you're like in
Yeah.
between the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2 coming out.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, that was kind of like people were thinking already like
Yeah.
128-bit or whatever.
Because I still had my 64. I just remember seeing it, and I never even like rented it or like anything from like
Yeah.
Blockbuster or something.
Yeah, I just remember seeing that review and seeing them saying like this game is just incredible and you got to go pick it up, and
then no one did. Well, 2 million people did.
Well, 2 million people across the world, but you feel like it probably could have doubled its sales, if it came out even a year earlier. But
I mean, it doesn't have the power of like Mario Kart. It's Excitebike.
No, I know it's not, but that's one of the things that I think it's like that hidden gem. I hate to say that term, but
Yeah.
it's one of those games that not everybody talks about all the time, and it's probably fantastic. It's
I mean, you assume so if everyone praises it.
Like
then.
there was just so much care put into this game. It's not a 7. You know how I say play more 7s, but
I know.
in the vein of like kind of being lost to time a little bit, it has that kind of characteristic.
Especially because there's like about 100 racing games on Nintendo 64.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk about NES not really being like the racing system, but
And then 64, there was tons of them.
there were 3 cruising games alone. So there was,
Yeah.
and nobody's playing Automobile Lamborghini.
Oh, Titus?
All right, so that's about these games. We're gonna try these games out again. Obviously, we've got history with Excitebike, and I'm just excited to see how we like Excitebike 64. So we're gonna come back after trying these games out and tell you guys what our thoughts are of them. So stay tuned, and we will be right back.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
This portion of our show has been brought to you by
It's new for your kids.
Laser lights, it's Black Star. Defender of right, he's ready to fight.
The evil overlord.
Laser lights,
The Ice Castle is a mysterious place. He might meet the lava lock face to face.
laser lights, it's Black Star.
From Galoob.
All right.
Banging them sideways.
Well, cool. Well, we put our bikes away.
We're back. I'm tired, and I got some grass stains on me, which is weird because
Unfortunately.
I didn't go outside.
Caught some big air.
Tell me about it. That's what it says on the 64
Yes,
box.
that's why I said it.
So we played Excitebike and Excitebike 64, as we mentioned. And let's start with Excitebike. I think that Excitebike is fun for 10 minutes. If you have 10 minutes to play a game, and either that or if you want to challenge your buddy to see who can have the fastest time
Yeah, that's kind of what that's
on a specific
that's
track.
what it is, though.
And you have to kind of appreciate it for what it is, and that's what it is. I think
a quick pick me up, not pick me up. Well, I guess it could be.
Could be a pick me up.
Yeah, a quick
But
pick up game and play.
Right, it's another one of those. I've got 5-10 minutes. I want to just throw in
Just boom, 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 boom.
game. Or just a game in the rotation. Like a game that you're gonna as part of the.
Yeah, you
part
got
of the collection.
five courses. Go
Yeah.
through them all.
It's different. Again, it's different when you have 3 games to play, and then it's different when you have 1,000 games to play.
Yeah.
Excitebike isn't really generally the one that you think about. That man, I want to play some Excitebike, but it's a fun game. It's got its place in history, which I think makes it special.
Especially the track editing, making your own course.
I think that's a cool piece of it. It's a piece of history. What Excitebike means is more than just the fun you can have with it now, and I think it is fun. It's the thing I like about it is that there's a cadence that you sort of need, and you can get better at this game because when you mess up, it really throws you off. Like I mentioned before, like if you make a mistake, it kind of throws off your whole timing.
Yeah.
Either
when you don't land, if you don't land correctly, you just automatically slow. You almost come to like a stop if you don't take that jump and then kind of nose dive it and kind of try to land like flat almost.
Well, it depends. Landing is different for different scenarios.
Yeah.
If you're landing on a jump, you want to land in the parallel of that jump. If you're landing on the ground, you want to land flat so that when you land, you just keep on moving.
Keep on trucking.
If you don't land in the direction of whatever the track is at that moment, you're going to bounce, and it's actually going to slow up your speed. Or worse, if you land too forward or too far back, you're going to actually crash, and then you're going to roll down that hill of whatever jump it is, and then your biker's going to have to get back, and by that time, you've lost bunches of seconds.
Start over.
It's easy to get in first place in the earlier tracks, and some of these later tracks, there are so many jumps. I don't know how anybody can get good enough.
Yeah, and those
game.
I don't know if it's at the night level or whatever, where it's like dark out.
Where it's like
yeah.
purple or blue.
Yeah. You got like 15 of those, like the little like bumps. You gotta go like
Yeah.
up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
And it just grinds to a halt. I mean, there's no real. And again, that's part of what you did before you got to that strip that led up to whatever was happening, where you were stuck in the mud, so to speak.
It's one of those you have to, keep playing it. It's memorization. You got to remember where certain jumps are and the little dirt patches or the little the turbo boost regenerator.
So, having said that, it's great for what it is. But how many people are going to go back and actually pick this game up and dedicate themselves enough to say, I want to get really good at these tracks?
I mean, for $5, it's worth it. If you've never played it.
I think any game that you buy, though, is a game that you have to say, this matters to me, and I'm, for a certain reason. So if you've never played Excitebike before, I don't know. I mean,
it's probably the best racing game on the Nintendo.
You're probably not wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just. Though my only problem with it is that it's such a short play. There's not a whole lot of.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think of the racing games from all that, if you try to think of racing games, they're pretty much most of them.
Yeah, that's true.
We're talking about Nintendo. There's not going to be like 30 tracks and mirror courses.
It just gets punishingly difficult pretty quickly, and that's the part where it's not the easiest game to play 4 levels in, and that's my issue with it. The Sega analog to this game would be a game called Enduro Racer, and it's an isometric game where you're on a motorcycle and you have to get through 10 tracks or 10 levels on 5. It's again 5 tracks. You play each level twice, but that game, when you finish it, like, you can definitely beat that game. It's very, very possible to beat that game. You don't have to be like a savant at video games to be. And in fact, you could put it in now, and you might be able to beat it. And that's got like an upgrade mechanic for a lot of the engine and tire parts and stuff. But it's simple enough where you can kind of get through it. Yeah, Excitebike's a hard game to beat. Yeah. So, it's just kind of like it gets punishingly difficult pretty quickly. So that's where I just get frustrated with it, and I just say I don't want to play anymore because I get so frustrated so quickly. If it's just the first level, like that first level is awesome. Like when you hit those jumps, the first 2-3 levels, it's just like bam, bam, bam.
There's only 5. There's only 5 courses. So.
Right. Well, is there 5 courses though? Because it seemed like when we passed that, there was like other courses after that, wasn't there? When I played through, I got through. Remember, I got through the first 5, and then there was
if you don't finish in whatever the 8 seconds of the first place, it says
game over,
and then you can go back and select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, unless there's. But you missed it, unless there's another course after. If you get first place in all 5, and you get like a bonus course.
Well, I did the challenge stages, which is just the rider by himself, and I got through the 5. And then there was a 6th level that I was playing that looked completely different.
Oh, huh? Because if you do the one I was playing with all the other,
you were playing Selection B,
yeah,
which is like the Excitebike courses, which has the other 4 racers on at the same time.
And that one only had 5.
Time. And that has 5.
Yep.
So I honestly can't tell you what that means, but it just gets really hard really quickly, and then you're saying to yourself, I'm kind of done because I'm getting stuck in the mud here. I'm losing, and Excitebike is the kind of game where it's hard for me to stay invested in going back and wanting to play that.
Yeah,
because it just makes me want to plug in Sega Rally Championship.
I mean, I guess. I mean, it's a game you play like. I don't know.
Once
maybe
a decade?
You do like once a year or something like that.
Yeah.
If you just want to kind of like, oh yeah, Excitebike. All right, I'll play it for a little bit.
Yeah, throw it in there.
Yeah.
I guess so. For $5, I would say it's worth it.
I mean, especially we didn't really. I mean, we
dig
didn't
dig into it.
Oh yes, but like the track editor and everything.
The track editor is fun, so that is another.
No,
reason.
I know that.
That's another reason to play. I mean, $5 is less than your lunch. So what am I saying? Get Excitebike and have some fun with it. But the track editor is probably something where you could like make a track and then pass it to your buddy,
Yeah.
and be like,
It's like
what can you how can you do on this? And
Yeah,
then see
the
if he can
beginning-
make one for you.
it was like the beginning of how like Mario Maker came to be.
yeah, kind of. I guess so. Yeah, it's
It's like
almost
here,
just
I want to
that.
make this crazy
Yeah.
course, and you try to figure it, like you try to get through it.
Yeah, and then we played. We actually when we plugged in the Excitebike 64 cartridge, for some reason Excitebike was already unlocked, the original version,
Oh yeah,
and that was actually looked amazing. It looked really really good, really clear,
Yeah, it
really
was
crisp.
really
The
solid colors.
The emulation was like really good. It almost reminded me of like when in Donkey Kong 64, where you can get Donkey Kong,
right.
at least get the game, but just really really crispy. And
But yours is through HDMI. Your 64,
This RGB going
Oh,
going
okay.
through HDMI.
and then we're playing the Nintendo on. What?
Composite,
Just
through,
composite?
through HDMI on the
okay.
FrameMeister. So, but I don't know. That's a whole nother topic of resolution and stuff. But the sounds sounded different. It almost sounded like it was as if it was the arcade version of Excitebike.
A little more oomph, a little more bass on
A
them.
little bit more, yeah, a little bit more context inside of the sound.
Context.
So yeah, I guess whatever. Excitebike is what it is. It's nothing too sophisticated. There is nuance to it if you want to get invested in a game that's simple, where you can try to master these tracks. It's a great game to do. It's a good game if you've got a friend and you're just hanging out on the couch and you want to pass the controller back and forth and see who can get the better track, or if you want to track time, or if you want to make a track and then see if your buddy can clear your best time in that track.
Or even if you have no friends.
And if you have no friends, then you can just play the Excitebike levels and have some fun for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then Excitebike 64, so we threw that in afterwards.
We threw it in.
And I was surprised by how realistic it is, and I don't mean that in a good way.
Yeah, surprisingly, I was expecting
The controls are not arcadey.
Yeah, I was expecting a
it's
pick
very
up and
realistic.
pick up and play type of racing game.
It's very very.
It's like Gran Turismo.
touchy.
Yeah, it's like Gran Turismo, but on dirt bikes. It's like you have to learn. So yeah, I played first, and we just jumped into the like exhibition and just play a course, and it was not what it was not what I was expecting. I was expecting just kind of like I don't know, I guess like cruising, but on dirt bikes,
right.
just something
No.
simple to play.
No, wave race.
Oh, wave race, yeah.
We were thinking wave race on dirt bikes.
Yeah, but you really have to go through the tutorial to figure out how to play. So there's like a power slide mechanic. You can either do let go of the gas on a turn and press B, and kind of take like a tight turn, or you
power slide with the R button,
or you power slide with the R button,
You're
or
fishtailing all over the place.
or you can do a tight turn by like when you're turning with the joystick, you pull back on the joystick.
Back to the side.
Yeah, so there's like 3 different ways to take a turn.
and I found, I don't know if it's because it's like I'm late and I'm tired, but I found myself like ignoring one of those steps because there's so many that you need to do at the same time. Like you can brake with B while turning with pulling back on the control stick to the right, using R to power slide at the same time, and don't forget you want to turbo out of that at the same time. So I was forgetting 1 or 2 of those steps and just saying fuck it, like,
Just to try to stay in the center of the course.
Yeah, just to try. Yeah. So and how many times did I hit hay bales?
I mean, I've been there.
And the backs of other racers. So it was very particular, and I don't know if it's maybe this game just hasn't aged as well.
Right.
Where in 2000 this was kind of like the best you could do, and the graphics were really great, and the sound was really good. And
I didn't even think the sound was that great. Even
like
the engines. It's like at the start of the race when
I thought it was clear. I thought it was very
when
clear,
they're
especially for a 64 game. It didn't sound muffled.
Yeah, like when all the bikes are lined up, you can hear the engines like zzz, but then it's like if people get ahead of you and it's just you, there's like no engine sound.
No, all you hear is the music.
Yeah, which I thought was kind of weird since you mentioned that like it had like real engine sound and it was like a selling point.
And that was one of the things that they said was so great about it was the real engine sounds that came out of it. So
I don't even feel like there's that many. It doesn't even like the sound. It doesn't even seem like any sound effects really.
No, like
It
when
didn't-
even when
you,
the
like,
bikes collide,
It's just kind of like a. There's no like really. It's like.
I didn't even hear anything
Yeah, there's not really much to it.
because the music. I don't know, maybe because the music is so high.
You'd expect some kind of like like a crash kind of thing.
There is a sort of a cadence to this game too, where if you're moving along and you're moving well, you're going to tend to go faster. But if you're not, and then you have a hill to get up,
You go extremely slow. You go on like 15 miles an hour because it shows like it goes from like 15 to 60 or something like that.
it feels like you're climbing a mountain with a Prius. It's just really, really, really slow. So that didn't make me want to continue. It was like
Yeah, maybe we're missing something.
It was
or-
well, and I can't knock the game too much because again, we play games that we have a history with. I thought that you had a history with this game, so that's a little gaff on us. But that's no big deal. Sometimes it's good to play something different and kind of get the take on it. But there is a tutorial, and I was learning some of those aspects of like how we figured out the control stick turning back to the left would make you turn a little bit more. But it just I think the reason why this game isn't as much our cup of tea is because it's so simulating or a simulation of racing.
Yeah.
More so than an arcadey racing game. Like an Excitebike the original, or like an Enduro Racer, or
Super Hang On.
or a Super Hang On. Yeah, Super Hang On's fantastic. It's more like a car game that
And
is a
this
motorcycle
doesn't
sleeve.
this doesn't have to do with Excitebike, but I do I do remember renting. I think I rented it 2 times, either from the Blockbuster in Willimantic or when I was in Norwich from the ShopRite. Was the dirt bike game for Nintendo 64, which I thought looked amazing. Dirt Tracks FX.
I don't even remember that for 64.
No, for Super Nintendo.
Oh, for Super Nintendo.
Dirt Tracks FX.
Was
You
it-
got to look that up.
Was it a Super FX game?
Yes, it was by Acclaim. And it was
Was
like
it 3D?
Yeah, it was like the 3D dirt bike racing game.
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, it's it's. I remember looking at the back of the box. I was like, oh shit, a new dirt bike game for Super Nintendo. It is fucking atrocious.
That whole era for motorcycle games was terrible. What was the 32X one?
It was just like Motocross 32X or something, right? Isn't it just Motocross? They're all Moto something.
Do I even have it? I probably threw it out. Hold on.
Or I saved it from the garbage just to say I had another 32X game. I'm pretty sure it's just called Motocross.
Let's see here. Do I have it? I don't think I have it anymore. I think I might have thrown it out.
Oh, I don't even have my phone on me. I think it is just called Motocross. But yeah, that was another game that looked really good and was not. But yeah, Dirt Tracks FX uses the Super FX chip by Acclaim. I totally forgot about that game. And that I thought that would be like the new Excitebike for the Super Nintendo.
Motocross Championship.
Yeah.
Motocross Championship. Yeah, I had that behind the back look.
Yeah, I remember the pictures and like when it came out in Game Informer, and I thought I was like, "Well, man, this looks really good."
And then
it was like got a 4.
And then you take off from a race and you just hear
12 frames per second.
everybody's jagging into one another.
There was another one on speaking of Jag, there was another one on Jaguar that was like that too, like a dirt bike game that looked awesome, and there was another one that moved at like 12 frames per second.
We needed Road Rash to save us.
I know, right?
So yeah, I mean, there's a tutorial that you can learn, more of the aspects of the game. But I just think, even if I learned them, I don't know if this would still be my cup of tea, even if I was winning races, because it just feels kind of. I hate to say it, because I really wanted to like this game. I feel like it's like a little bit of a chore to get through the races.
Yeah, I mean, because even going down like a straightaway, it still doesn't feel like you're in total control of the bike.
No.
It feels just like if you just kind of like nudge it or move it, you'll just slide and like fall off.
I kind of wanted like like somewhat like a mixture of like wave race and like Beetle Adventure racing. And it totally is more, and I can understand them going more simulation route because there wasn't a whole lot of that on the 64. It was more arcadey, fun,
Now
multiplayer.
I kind of wonder how that What was McGrath, the super.
I might have. I think I have it.
Now I kind of wonder how that one plays.
I remember.
Pretty sure that was acclaimed.
I remember thinking it was fun, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know. We'll have to try it out. I think I might have it down there. Look behind you and just see if you see it over there.
Okay.
Right here.
No, I'm not gonna look through that.
No.
Too many games.
I'll look through it. You talk.
No, we don't need to look through it right now. What's the point?
Ooh, there's Moto Racer World Tour.
Who knew there's so many fucking dirt bike games? This was the era.
Moto Racer World Tour.
This is the era of extreme.
It's got the Goodwill sticker still on it.
This is when the ESPN X Games was popping. So,
Did
DSI.
Did you notice the extreme era music in Excitebike 64 though?
I don't know how extreme it was. It wasn't extremely good. I'll tell you that. Moto Racer World Tour DSI Infogrames.
Everybody, we have Supercross 2000.
He's in there.
For $1.99 from Savers.
And that's probably about all it's worth.
Yeah, I can't say that I remember too much other than it being just okay, but I don't know if it's more of a simulation or more of an arcade version.
Oh, it's EA Sports too?
Yeah. Supercross series. Apparently they have their own Supercross.
Oh, Supercross 2000. Yeah, the other one, whatever, Jeremy McGrath or whoever it was.
Jeremy McGrath and Supercross 2000.
You have Driver in here.
Okay, well, I guess we don't have Supercross 2000.
At least it's a racing game.
With his driver?
Yeah.
I never thought I'd say...
Wait, hold on 1 minute. All right, so you got Moto Racer World Tour for PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
And then we have Supercross 2000 for PlayStation.
Right.
You want to know what the tagline for each of these games is?
Yes.
Okay, so Motocross 2000. Ride, race, and fly with style.
Wait. No, that was Supercross.
Is that what I said?
You said motocross.
Oh,
You said
Supercross
you said Moto
2000.
Racer.
The tag race.
Yeah.
EA Sports, Supercross 2000. Ride, race, and fly with style.
Okay.
And now Motor Racer World Tour. Ride, race, and fly.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah. It's like the same exact tagline for two different games.
Oh my god.
It's hilarious.
And they're two different companies?
Yeah.
This is what? EA Sports and that one's Konami?
DSI.
Or Infogrames.
Yeah. That's funny.
Jeez. Is Moto Racer in this one?
Oh, yeah.
Well, at least that was correct.
Or maybe you mixed it up with your driver case.
I don't have driver.
I don't even think you ever opened this because when I opened it, the sticker was still stuck to it. So,
was it?
Yeah, like the $1.99 sticker.
Well, maybe I never opened it.
Well, actually, I'm sure Driver's better than Supercross 2000. If I was going to take a wild guess.
So, Excitebike 64 is $10 if you want to pick it up. If you like simulation style games, if you guys like Gran Turismo and you really want to kind of like a technical racer, I would say definitely go grab it.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be right up your alley. If you like arcade games, if you like Wave Race 64, if you like Sega Rally Championship, if you like the original Excitebike.
Yeah, there's a learning curve to it.
Yeah, you're going to have to put some time in and be dedicated to it. Other than that, I would say no if you're that kind of gamer. I'm going to have to say no for me, at least.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I really,
like I'm more
disappointed. I really wanted to like this one.
I'm Mario Kart Road Rash cruising kind of racing. You know, that's the kind of stuff I like to play.
Right.
Like a racing game, I just want to be able to control and just go.
Right.
I don't want to have to learn like downshift, upshift, like in those kind of games.
No.
You
mean even like a manual shift is fine if the steering is easy to do. You know, that's like Daytona USA or one of those games. It's you can have a manual and you almost can use that to power.
No, I know, but I'm just just saying.
Yeah, so I mean, I just want to go. I'm along the same. I mean, Daytona USA is that Mario Kart. Those are
which I'm sure majority of people love.
Sega Rally Championship.
I mean, I wanted to like it. I really wanted
me too. Me too. I really, really wanted to like this game, and it just I mean, especially considering that the magazines gave it the scores that they did. I mean, 9.7 from IGN,
I know that makes
9 from EG,
9.7
EGM,
from 9.7 from who?
IGN,
IGN.
the
That's
website.
That's I know. I'm just like that's basically like a flawless game.
It's almost like a perfect game.
That's like Zelda 64. They gave
Yeah.
it, I remember that got 10. So like we're talking about almost like a perfect flawless game.
I mean, I would give it more of like, I think GameSpot with like the 8.8 maybe.
I'm gonna have to give it a solid 7.
It's hard for me to give it a score because it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really upset that I didn't like it more than I did because it's.
I mean, I know because I wanted to play it.
And when you think about like the team that made it, I mean, they made Kobe Bryant basketball courtside, and they made Slam and Jam. So you think that they've got more of a
Arcade kind of style, yeah.
arcade,
A pick up and play.
Yeah, and unless I'm missing something and you're missing something,
I don't know, man.
So it's yeah. So
I guess that was. I'm going to say that was kind of the thing with like the dirt bike games around then. They were more simulation than arcade.
back at that point.
Yeah, I feel like people were like
era?
really into that more simulation style of like the dirt bike games.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Supercross. I feel like these two games are probably along those lines too.
Yeah. I think in this era, if I got to think about a dirt bike game that's my favorite, it's got to be Manx TT, and that's not.
Well, that's not even dirt bikes though.
They're
it?
they're road bikes.
Hmm.
But it's like a MotoGP, like
Yeah.
kind of race, So, and that's not. I mean, that game's like a 7.5 and an 8, maybe.
Yeah.
And good game, but and
Give me
that's
Road Rash any day.
road. I think Road Rash is if you're talking about just a bike with two wheels.
Yeah.
Either that or Paperboy.
Paperboy Racer.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on this episode 9. We hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you guys have any suggestions for games that you want to see, email us at theturboduo@gmail.com. We're on Instagram at theturboduo and Facebook at theturboduo. Trent, anything else for us before we sign off here?
I think we got it about covered.
Yeah.
We got the YouTube, which you may or may not be watching right now.
Right, we're starting with episode 8. We actually have video accompanying the podcast. So if you hear anything that sounds like they're doing something or talking to some camera, that's because we are. So a little bit more interactive. We're going to splash up some gameplay footage as well and references that we're talking about. So it's a little bit more media for your eyes when you see it on YouTube, if you can consume it that way. If not, the podcast services are great too. We're on iTunes, Spotify now.
Yes, we are on Spotify now as of a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So if that's a easier format to you than using like iTunes or Podbean or however, we are on Spotify.
Yeah. And with that, we will leave you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, however you have it. Be safe, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it retro.
And stay hard.